Welcome back to the Avatar series right here at Comicstorian, where we break down your favorite trade paperbacks into digestible bites and then we read it dramatically back to you, bringing you an audio drama. I'm your narrator, Dan, and today we are going to be finishing up part 3 of the Avatar comic, The Rift. Heed my words, students of Beifong Metal Bending Academy. She clings to your very being like a heavy, suffocating cloak. Take a hold of its dark folds and keep guard against the impish breath of distraction. The Dark One shouts as he and the others lead the newest group of students at the academy. But Hotun steps forward, reminding the students that they should feel it in their gut. But the whole class is interrupted as Sokka comes rushing in, telling the Dark One, Penga, and Hotun that Toph needs their help. Quickly, they all rush outside, boarding Appa, who leaps into the sky. At the refinery, Aang continues to look into the smug, clouded skies. He leans down, speaking into the earth. "Katara?" he says quietly. "Is Sokka back yet?" she answers, her voice softened by the dirt between them. "No, I just wanted to hear your voice. How's Toph holding up?" he asks. "As good as you could expect, considering she is literally carrying the weight of the world right now." Toph braces herself, her bending holding the earth above them, keeping them all alive. Sweat drips down her face from the strain as the metal creaks and shifts around them. Katara hands her water skin to Satoru, telling the young man to bring it to Toph. "If Toph fails, me running out of water won't matter much," she tells him. He walks over, telling the young woman not to speak, and offers her the water. Once she has drunk the last of the water, Toph asks Satoru to stay. "Talk with me," she asks him. He looks at her, shocked, asking if that would make it harder for her to concentrate. "What? This is nothing. Barely breaking a sweat," she smiles at him. Satoru sits with her, telling her his story and why he follows his uncle so closely. Both of his parents used to work for Ozai and had joined a pro-Ozai underground society after he was defeated. Satoru couldn't stand it anymore and ran away, living on the streets of Ba Sing Se's lower ring. When his uncle heard what had happened, he found Satoru, took him in, and gave him a job. "I admire him so much. He doesn't care about politics. But now I realize that's only because he cares about money," he sighs, realizing he was too afraid to be thrown out to see his uncle for what he truly was. Satoru smiles at her, telling her that he wishes that he was brave like her for standing up to her father. As if on cue, they hear a cough next to them, and Satoru looks up to see Lau. "Excuse me a moment, Satoru," Lau asks. As Toph continues to strain, Lau stands in front of her, and he finally gives her the apology that he should have given her years ago. Her mother blamed him for her leaving. After she was gone, he came to the refinery to escape from his old life. "In case these are our final moments, Toph, I need you to know, not a day has gone by that I have not thought of you," he tells her with tears in his eyes. "I love you, my daughter. I'm sorry for everything." There's a pause as Toph turns her head away from her father before turning back. "That's your problem, Dad. If you knew me, the real me, you wouldn't be wondering if we're gonna live or die," she tells her father, setting her shoulders and lifting the earth around them a few more inches, steadying it. "Because you know, I can keep this up as long as I need to. I'm Toph Beifong, the greatest earthbender of all time," she gasps. Above them, Aang shouts for the others as the metal-bending students arrive. He fills them in quickly on the situation. Though they are nervous at first, Katara yells Toph's instructions from beneath them. Finally, the students drop into their stances, preparing to bend the iron beneath them. The three of them work together, pulling large chunks of iron from beneath the earth. Suddenly, the dirt moves beneath them, revealing a large iron mask bearing its fangs at them. At first, the students are frightened, pulling back and making the ground above Toph shift. But Aang believes in them, telling them that they are literally the best metal benders outside of Toph. "No one can do this but you," he yells at Hotun. The students return to their tasks, finally yelling at Aang that they need his help moving the last of the dirt as they near Toph and the others. Finally, they pull the last of the iron away, shifting the dirt and revealing the chamber below. Toph suddenly relaxes, throwing a thumbs up to her students. Not bad, she gasps at them before passing out into her father's arms. And everyone comes rushing out of the hole. Anybody hurt? I've got plenty of bandages and splints, Jingbo yells, running over. Katara runs into Aang's arms and they kiss. I know, but these oogies are well-deserved, Sokka tells Momo. The students rush over to make sure that Toph is okay, with Lau introducing himself to them. Sifu Toph has a dad? Penga asks, shocked. What did you think? She just popped out of a rock? Hotun asks. It'd make sense, wouldn't it? She tells him. As everyone begins to gather, getting their injuries checked out, Loban looks around, shocked at all the iron that litters the ground around him. I thought it'd take months to dig that iron out of the ground, but now it's here, all around us. I'm surrounded by a fortune. He smiles. He yells for some of the rough rhinos nearby, telling them to get their Komodo rhinos so that they can haul the iron down to his ship so that he can bring it back to the Fire Nation. If I process it there, that coward Lau won't have any claim on the profits. I believe my partnership with the Earth Kingdom is at an end, he says to himself. Suddenly, the winds begin to pick up around them, and Katara remarks that she thinks a storm is coming in. I don't think that's just any storm, Aang tells her. He looks on, seeing the spirit of Avatar Yang Chen standing nearby. But once more, he can't hear the words coming out of her mouth. He rushes over to the air acolytes, telling them that he needs to finish the ceremonial feast. Jingbo nods, but holds up the ceremonial vase that was destroyed in the earthquake. Aang thinks back on what Avatar Yang Chen had said to him during their last meeting, thinking that there might be a way to re-establish his connection with his past selves. Anything I can do to help? Katara asks him, but Aang shakes his head. No, I got this. I just need to find someplace quiet and a good-sized rock, he tells her. Aang finds a quiet place, sitting down to meditate as he finds a decent rock. He uses his earthbending to quickly sculpt it, and now it resembles the medallion that once linked him to Master Roku. He attaches it to his beads and closes his eyes. Aang, Master Roku greets him with a smile. Aang is happy with his past self, but sadness overtakes him as he begins to explain his actions. But Roku merely opens his arms, gesturing for the young Avatar to come to him, and they hug. I'm sorry, Master Roku. I missed you so much, Aang tells him. But Master Roku continues to smile, telling the young boy that his past lives can only offer advice based on their own experiences. It is up to him to find the balance between the past and the future. Remember this as you search for a solution to your current dilemma, he says, gesturing to the rest of the past avatars lined up behind him. Aang passes them, greeting each as he sees them, until he finally comes to Avatar Yang Chen, and she smiles at him. I need to know the terms of your agreement with General Old Iron. Finish your story, please, he asks her. She nods, explaining that General Old Iron promised to never take up his armor against mankind. In exchange, she built a memorial for Lady Tianhe and promised that the land would return to its natural state, free of human civilization. Once a year, she would lead the air nomads to this location to let the rest of the world know that it was sacred to them. After her death, this became known as Yang Chen's festival. Aang nods, realizing that the iron they found in the earth was part of General Old Iron's armor. Yang Chen nods, telling Aang that her promise to the spirit has been broken. What if we put things back the way they were? What if we bury the armor and return this place to its natural state? Wouldn't that unbreak your broken promise to General Old Iron? He asks. Yang Chen nods, telling the young Avatar to go and help his friends. As Aang comes out of his meditation, he leaps up into the air. The storm has become stronger, and in the distance, he can see a great spirit coming out of the ocean. Aang lands back amongst his friends, and he quickly explains that the iron is the armor of a great spirit, and it needs to go back into the earth, and that they need to return the land to how it was. But doesn't that mean you have to destroy the refinery and the entire town? Sokka asks. Aang nods, asking Katara to get all of the workers clear, and then looks towards the metal benders to help him, but is surprised to find that the giant mask has disappeared. And suddenly, Satoru comes rolling up on a forklift. I saw my uncle and a couple of rough rhinos dragging the mask down to the beach, he shouts. Aang tells him that he needs to get it back. I'm on it, Satoru shouts, and Sokka gets on board the forklift. Me too, he shouts as they ride off. Can I drive? Sokka asks. No, Satoru tells him sharply. Down on the beach, the rhinos are trying to load the mask as the storm lashes around them. Suddenly, a boomerang comes flying out, snapping the ropes tied to the great hunk of iron. The Avatar needs you to return that mask, Sokka tells them. Uncle, your greed almost got us killed in that mine. Haven't you learned your lesson? Satoru asks. But his uncle glares at him, telling him that he had planned for Satoru to be his successor, but now he realizes the young man doesn't have what it takes. Rough rhinos, take care of those two, Loban orders his men. Katara returns to Aang, telling him that the town is empty, and the Avatar turns, looking out on the ocean and seeing General Old Iron growing closer. Do you see him? Aang asks. I do, Katara tells him. She understands what Aang has to do, kissing him on the cheek and telling him that he better hurry. I hate destroying things, Aang sighs sadly. As everyone moves away, Aang enters the Avatar state, leaping into the air and controlling all of the elements. But one of the workers overheard what the Avatar was planning and rushed over to tell Lao, warning him that the Avatar was going to destroy the town. Lao is shocked, looking up at the Avatar swirling above them. Dad, what's going on? Toph asks, struggling to sit up. Lao turns, beginning to tell his exhausted daughter what is happening, but stops himself. It's nothing for you to worry about, my daughter. Rest. What matters is that you're safe, he tells her. But she sits up angry, telling him that she doesn't need to be protected. She needs to know what's going on. And he nods. One of my employees just informed me that the Avatar is about to destroy the refinery, he tells her. He explains that he doesn't know why, but losing the refinery would ruin him. He sighs, telling her that they wanted to do something new, a joint project between the two nations. It's a symbol that can only exist in a world of peace, he sighs. He bows before his daughter. So please, Toph Beifong, you're the greatest earthbender of all time. Help me, he asks. Toph smiles, energy flooding through her body as she gets off the bed. Come on, you lily livers, let's help the man out, she tells her students. Over the refinery, Aang launches 3 massive fireballs towards the main building. But the fire impacts a wall of earth that rises up from the benders. Toph, what are you guys doing? Aang asks, coming out of the Avatar state. What's it look like we're doing? We're stopping you, she shouts up at her friend. Back on the beach, Sokka blocks another arrow from the rough rhino archer. He turns to Satoru, throwing him his battle club. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm an engineer. I don't know how to fight, Satoru says as he begins to run from the other rough rhino. Look, I fight people more powerful than me all the time. If you can't beat them, outthink them, he shouts, dodging another arrow. He throws his boomerang, smashing the archer's bow. Hello, Mr. Rough Rhino Archer Guy. Here's my guess. You got super good at the bow and arrow because you're not so great at hand-to-hand combat, Sokka says, squaring off against the bowless bowman. That's not true. I trained for years, the archer shouts, throwing a punch that Sokka easily blocks. With a quick twist, he spins and throws the archer to his feet. Satoru leads the other rough rhino back to the forklift. He smashes the engine, letting the steam shoot out and hit the man in the face. Sokka comes over, smiling at Satoru, outthinking their attackers. You think your advice applies to things even bigger than the rough rhinos? Satoru asks with a look of fear on his face. How big? Sokka asks as he begins to turn around. That big? Satoru whispers, pointing to General Old Iron as he comes out of the ocean. Loban continues to struggle to pull the mask down the beach towards his boat, But suddenly, it begins to glow and float up into the sky. He stares up in shock at the giant spirit standing over him, but he refuses to let go of the rope. Satoru rushes over, jumping and holding on to his uncle, begging for him to let go of the rope. Sokka jumps up, grabbing onto the big man as well, and all together they begin to lift higher and higher into the air as Satoru continues to yell for his uncle to let go. "No, don't let go! Whatever you do, don't let go!" Sokka shouts as he looks at the ground far below them. The mask locks into place on General Old Iron's face as the three humans dangle below his mouth. Back at the refinery, Aang is trying to explain to Toph and her students the situation, but finally just gives up. "Toph, there's just no time to explain. You gotta trust me, okay? I gotta make this place look the way it used to," he shouts at her. "Why? So you and your acolytes can have your little picnics here and act like it's the olden times again?" she asks him. Aang tries to explain that he needs to prove to the spirits that humans can preserve things. "By destroying everything those people built?" she shouts. She yells at Aang that the refinery is the future and she won't let him destroy the future. "Toph, please! You gotta get out of the way!" Aang yells at her. But Toph and her students drop into a battle stance. "Make us!" she shouts at him. Aang throws a blast of wind at each of them, knocking the three of the students off their platform. But Toph is prepared, blocking the blast with a wall of earth. She begins to throw blocks of earth at Aang, hurling them forward with powerful punches. Aang dodges, but eventually one hits him and he falls to the earth. Irritated, he blows the last rock apart with a vicious punch. "Get ready, Team Beifong, let's metal bend!" Toph shouts, taking up a position with her students. Aang dodges their metal attacks, trying to explain to Toph that if there were any other way, he would be doing it. But the students interrupt him. "Is that the giant ancient spirit you were talking about?" Pengu asks, pointing over their shoulders. In the distance, General Old Iron begins to walk through the town. The iron around them begins to lift up, encasing the massive spirit in a dark armor. Meanwhile, Katara gasps as she looks up at the great spirit and sees her brother hanging from its mouth. "Sokka, hang on!" she shouts. "Like I have a choice!" Sokka yells back. Katara creates a water slide out of the rain and positions it beneath them. "I've got you guys, now let go!" she yells to them. Both Sokka and Satoru shout for Loban to let go of the rope, but the man is too afraid. "I can't!" he shouts in fear. "Yes, you can! Just breathe out slowly and let go," Satoru tells his uncle calmly. The three of them fall, caught in Katara's water spout. They float to the ground below. "You know, I don't think I like water slides any better than I like dirt slides," Sokka tells his sister as he coughs up water. Meanwhile, Aang floats up to General Old Iron's face. "General Old Iron, I am the Avatar," he begins to shout. But the spirit interrupts him.
"I know who you are. I was once taken in by the chittering of one of your predecessors. No more. I've come to do what I should have done long ago. Wipe your kind from existence," the spirit shouts, bringing his fist down and smashing the buildings below. Katara blocks his second blow with more water bending. Before Old Iron can attack again, he is hit from behind by a massive dirt fist that Aang has created. Aang floats atop an earthen body that rivals Old Iron in size, and the two great behemoths begin to trade blows back and forth. From afar, the metalbenders look on. "Hop to it, Team Beifong! The Avatar needs our help!" Toph yells, beginning to run towards the fight. "Hey, weren't we just trying to fight him off a second ago?" Penga asks. The metalbenders drop into their stances as Toph directs them. Using their bending, they begin to peel the iron armor off of General Old Iron's body. "It's working! Keep it up!" Toph yells to her students. Aang looks down at his friend as she begins to shout at him. "Aang, you got a clear shot now! Right in his chest! Go back into the Avatar state and give him everything you've got!" she shouts.
But Aang shakes his head, afraid that Old Iron won't be able to withstand the attack if he doesn't have his armor. "Are you out of your gourd, Twinkletoes? He's about to crush you! Do it! Do it now!" she shouts. But Old Iron has discovered the metal benders, demanding to know how they have learned such power and dare use it against him. He begins to reach out for them, and Toph turns back to her students. "Hotun, Penga, the Dark One, I'll hold him off, you guys run!" she yells. But the students stand their ground. "We're not leaving you, Sifu Toph!" Penga yells. "The bitter grip of death is still sweeter than disloyalty," the Dark One confirms. But Aang flies in front of the spirit, trying to reason with him. General Old Iron rears back, ready to smash the metal benders. "No! Stay away from my friends!" Aang shouts, dropping to the Avatar's state, and he launches an attack with all of the elements, smashing General Old Iron in the chest. And the spirit falls, a gaping hole in his chest. Aang lands near the spirit's head. "Oh no! I didn't mean to!" he begins. Too late for my kind. Long ago, I was much more peaceful than you humans. Now look at me. Look at you," he tells them. General Old Iron begins to stand, moving back towards the ocean. He tells the Avatar that he was right all those years ago. There is no place for the spirits in this world anymore. Aang flies next to Old Iron, telling him that he is the bridge between the spirits and the humans. "You repeat those words over and over like it's a mantra, but you are fooling only yourself. Whenever the border between our two worlds grows to a rift, the Avatar will always side with the humans. The Avatar is, after all, a human," Old Iron says, stepping into the swelling ocean. He knows that humans' true nature is to dominate. He turns back, bowing to Aang. "I pay homage to you, young human, for you have vanquished me," he says. General Old Iron begins to glow. He transforms into several spirit creatures who disappear beneath the waves. Aang stands on the beach, looking out into the calm ocean, sadness on his face. Behind him, Toph comes up. She knows that it wasn't easy for him to attack the spirit, but thanks him for saving her and her students. She reaches out and they embrace. As they hug, the sun begins to peek over the horizon, and at the refinery, Lao stands before his workers. He knows that they have been through a lot, but wishes for them to stay with him, to help rebuild that which they had created. "After all, the refinery is the future. Let's build the future together," he shouts as the workers clap and cheer him on. He steps off the stage, taking his daughter's hand. "Not bad. Not as good as the speeches I give at the school, of course, but not bad," she tells him with a smile. Back in the camp, Katara catches up with her friends, learning of all that has happened with their tribe since she left. She apologizes and promises to return soon, but her friends smile, telling her that they had no right to be angry earlier. "You and Sokka, you make us Southern Water Tribers proud." Later, Aang and Katara return to the site of Lady Tianhe's statue, which now lays in ruins on the ground. "How awful! What happened?" Katara questions, but Aang shakes his head. "All those earthquakes, maybe? I'm not sure," he tells her. Aang is sad, believing that maybe General Old Iron was right, and that humans and spirits might not be able to coexist. But Katara doesn't believe that. She believes in the Avatar, and she tells him that he should talk to his past lives, see if they have any ideas. Aang nods, sitting down to meditate as Katara leaves. "Find me if you need me, sweetie," she tells him. Aang holds his beads, but before he can close his eyes, he is interrupted by a squawking. "I know, you poor cranefish don't have a statue to perch on anymore," he tells the bird that has drawn near. More of the birds appear, and they begin to squawk and glow as they encircle Aang. "You aren't just normal birds, are you?" Aang suddenly realizes. The birds begin to glow and fuse, and suddenly, Lady Tianhe is standing over Aang. She smiles at him. telling him that she was once the caretaker of this coastline. The seashore was beautiful, but also stagnant, characterless, and unchanging. That is, until a small group of humans built a magnificent city here, she tells him. She explains that after General Old Iron left her, she began a new tradition. Once a year, she would take the form of a human and stroll through the city's streets, marveling at everything the humans had created. One night, she met a human that she fell in love with, and she decided to make her human form permanent. They were eventually married, and her sweet prince became the king. But eventually, as with all humans, she died, and her king blamed himself. "But you didn't die. You're right here," Aang tells her. "Yes, my king was brilliant, but he was wrong. Spirits don't die. We simply take a new form," she explains. General Old Iron was wrong as well. It is not human nature to dominate, but to create, she tells him. She begins to shimmer again, taking the form of the cranefish once again. She tells Aang that while humans falter from time to time, she knows that they can learn from their mistakes. "I believe that ultimately, you will create a civilization that preserves and protects while it grows." The birds begin to leap into the air as Lady Tianhe explains that the spirits will always have a place in this world, as long as the humans make one for them. "But how can you be so sure we'll do that? How can you know?" Aang asks the birds as they fly away. And as the last bird leaves, Aang can hear Lady Tianhe's final words. "I don't know, young Avatar. I hope," she says. 3 months later, a new tradition has begun. The parade moves through the streets of the town, led by the air acolytes and the metalbenders. Toph reaches out, punching Satoru in the arm. "What was that for?" he shouts. "The refinery's been open for almost 2 weeks, and you haven't invited me back yet. Weren't we supposed to be in some kind of partnership?" she shouts at him. "Well, I was kind of expecting you to just waltz back in whenever you felt like it," Satoru tells her as Toph sits next to him. "What? My father raised me to be better than that," she tells him with a smile. Katara looks around at the new tradition, shocked that Aang is okay with the loud parade, and Sokka selling meat on a stick. Aang agrees that it's not the same tradition. "We're calling it the Spirits Friendship Festival." He smiles as he looks around at everyone having fun. Same tradition, only in a new form. And that brings us to the conclusion of the Avatar series, The Rift. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon, get those notifications when we release our new videos, and leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed me, Dan, your narrator today, you can always find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Cyloo91, that's CYLOO91. If you want to support the channel, you can sign up for the YouTube membership or our Patreon at patreon.com/Comicstorian. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you again next time with the next installation of the Avatar series.